Let's talk about van maintenance. Today I'm in Reno, Nevada. I'm going up the 395, and as I was in Bishop, I had my check engine light go on. 250 miles away from any Sprinter service station. But there was a diesel mechanic in Bishop who checked it out, checked my codes. Turns out that I had a bad fuel injector, probably because I got a hold of some bad diesel. He reset the code, had me add some cleaner. It's still knocking a little bit, and I'm over 10,000 miles from my last service. Now the service interval on the Sprinter is 20,000 miles, but I prefer to do my service every 10,000 just because this is my full-time home and I just want to stay totally on top of it. I don't ever want to have a breakdown on the road, and so I do as much as I can to make sure that that doesn't happen. So today I'm taking it into the Reno Mercedes-Benz dealer. They are a Sprinter service center. Just so you know, not all Mercedes dealerships are. I'm gonna go have them do very much preventative maintenance. Here we are. There goes the Galavan. The Galavan's now in the shop. They're even doing a recall. There's an open recall for the driver's side airbag, so if they have the parts for that, they're gonna go ahead and do that. Dawn picked me up at the shop, and so we've got the whole day to play. Right now we're gonna go to breakfast at Grateful Gardens Cafe. We had a great breakfast. We were both so hungry that I forgot to even take pictures of the food beforehand. Really great, and now we're gonna go find a park, and we've got our computers. We're gonna do a little work while we wait for the van to be serviced. Alright, so I got the call from Joe, my service advisor at Mercedes, and it is not good news. They drained some of the diesel and smelled it, and it smells like there is gas in the diesel tank. What needs to happen now is they have to put it up on a rack, and they have to, there's no plug on the diesel tank, so they have to drop the whole tank to drain it. And so that's what's happening. Dawn is right now, there's Dawn, hey!
Hello.
She is driving me back to Mercedes so that I can get some stuff out of the van because it's gonna be there overnight. I've had my vans in service overnight before, but I've always been able to stay in it. But this time it's gonna be in the garage on a rack, and so I won't be able to stay in it overnight. Hey, so here's the van in the shop. It's about ready to go up on the rack, and I just had to come get some stuff. Whoa, it's a big step. This is so weird. I am actually in a Sticks and Bricks. I actually stayed overnight in a Sticks and Bricks last night. Since I launched in August of 2017, I have slept in my own bed in the van every single night, except for the 5 nights that I was in Baja, Mexico for my niece's wedding. But I'm super grateful that we were already visiting Dawn's friends, and they generously offered up a place for us to stay last night. So of course, you know, even if we hadn't been visiting people, there are hotels, Airbnbs, there's always other options. The van is in the shop getting serviced, and I talked about that already, but I'd like to talk a little bit about the issue of having gas in the diesel tank. So I am super careful about refueling. Usually it's really easy to distinguish between diesel and gas at a gas station because the diesel tanks almost always have green handles. There is one station that I know of, one station chain that I know of that has green handles for everything. I have been to a couple of those recently, and so at those I double, triple check to make sure that I'm only getting diesel. I learned about that because of the Sprinter Source forums, learning from other people's mistakes, right? So I know that I have not accidentally pumped from what is labeled a gas tank. It is not unheard of for gas stations to screw up and have gas in a diesel tank. It's not common, but it's definitely not unheard of. I try not to let my tank get below half a tank before I refuel because, you know, if you do get a hold of some bad diesel, then that just dilutes it a little bit. But having gas in the diesel tank is way worse. It just cannot handle any gas. I think I know where I picked it up. I think it was in Escalante at this really funky gas station that, I mean, it didn't seem like it was going to be funky, but then one of the pumps, the card reader wasn't working. I tried another one, the tank wasn't working. I should have stopped then, but I didn't. I went ahead and found a third pump and it worked. I think that's probably where I got it. It was a couple of weeks ago, but it was quite a few miles ago. Really hard to know for sure, especially since I've been on the move. There are two kinds of diesel for highway vehicles that are commonly available at gas stations. Number 2 diesel, which is what the Sprinter uses, and biodiesel, which the Sprinter can't use unless it's modified. If the tank doesn't specify, I don't refuel there. So I really am very, very careful. Now, when I was in Bishop and had the codes read, the mechanic there suggested that I'd gotten a hold of some bad diesel, and he suggested that I just go to the auto parts store and get some detergent for my tank to help with the injector. I went and got that, added that. He had cleared the code. He said that if the code didn't come back in 50 or 100 miles, that I was probably good to go. But when I got to Reno, it was still idling harder than it normally does, and the acceleration was noisier than normal. And just a side note, I do recommend that you do drive your vehicle sometimes without any entertainment on, without a podcast or music or anything, so that you can hear your engine. I decided to go ahead and have it checked out while I was here in Reno because they do have a Sprinter service center. A little more details on this. There isn't a plug on the bottom of the diesel tank. And so what they have to do is they had to put it up on a rack and drop the tank. They had to actually take the tank out and drain it and clean it up and put everything back together. I'm really hoping that it's done this afternoon, but there is no guarantee that it will be. Here are some things that I hope you take away from this video, and hopefully this is useful to you, especially if you have a Sprinter. But any RV, any van. So if you're on the road, always, always, always have an emergency fund. Always. You don't want any kind of repair to completely ruin you, right? Keep a positive attitude when stuff goes wrong. I mean, it really doesn't help to get all stressed out and get all emotional. Although, I have to admit, I did have half a package of Tate's gluten-free cookies yesterday because it was just a little bit stressful. Even though diesel and gas fumes are toxic, it might be a good idea to take a very quick whiff before refueling. Diesel and gas smell very different, and so I think if I had done that, I maybe could have prevented this. If a gas station feels at all sketchy, don't refuel there, go somewhere else. The mechanic in Bishop actually recommended that I just find the most expensive diesel in the area every time instead of going for the cheaper diesel. I don't know if that's really true or not, but I think I'm gonna go for that from now on. And if you think anything is off in your van, just go ahead and get it checked out, even if it costs you a little bit, because you know what? It's so much easier to get it worked on when it's still working okay than having to get it towed and all that. So I was able to drive it there, no problem. It was still driving fine. It wasn't great, but it was driving okay. That's it for this video. Check in later for part 2 when I pick up the van and talk about how it all turns out. For now, this is Joni waiting for the Galavan. Enjoy your journey.